Hello and welcome to another video with me, Chaz Large. Hope you're all keeping well and safe in these uncertain times. Now today's video is not necessarily a repair, it's more a recovery, and it's a recovery of files from an old backup format. Now many years ago I bought a PC from Time, based on an advert starring Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock from Star Trek, back in 1998, who did a UK version of this advert, but this is the American version because I can't find the UK version, but just to show you what was advertised at the time.
Space? We've been there. Time? That's the new frontier. Physically traveling through time isn't possible. But with a time machine from Time Computers, you can go into the future. Imagine a whole book, encyclopedia, or even a movie on a single disc. And the internet is changing the way the next generation think. From here, we can see a billion years into the past. With a time machine, you can see into the future. Buy a time machine and get free software tokens worth up to £500 for your school to educate future generations.
Okay, so in that advert, obviously you saw Leonard with various bits of software and a DVD-ROM, and it was all whiz-bang at the time, and the kind of things that you could get. And Time were offering a big bundle of extra CD-ROMs to go with their computers, a screen and the PC itself. It ran Windows 98. Now, but one of the features that was with it was this backup software, backup facility rather, which is called an LS120 or Super Disk, and the drives looked like that, the discs rather. So it's an LS120, 120 megabyte on a floppy drive. Well, a floppy compatible drive, I should say. So this is the actual disk itself, and there you are. You can see one of my documents, backup disk, one of three, and there's the date, 16th of July 1999. Now I think I've pretty much copied that over to later computers, so there's probably nothing particularly on that one, but I've got a whole bunch of others. So I basically decided I would need to find an LS120, and because I'm sort of a bit of a squirrel, I never seem to throw anything away. When I got rid of that computer and moved on up, I basically kept the drive from it, the LS120. Everything else went, but I built another computer using a more up-to-date motherboard and so on, and used that drive with that. That's obviously since been upgraded and moved on, but I kept that motherboard because of its legacy facility to use LS120 drive. And if you connect if you've got an LS120 and you stick it in a new computer, it won't recognize it. It has to go into a hard drive ISA connector, but most of the more modern BIOSes don't recognize LS120 anymore. So thankfully, this particular motherboard from QDI, and I can just show it to you there on the bench now. This is the motherboard. Apologies for the quality. I'm getting a new camera. It's going to be a while before I get it. It's on order, but anyway, just temporary to show you. This is the old motherboard, and the old drives and so on, which I've got down here as well, including the underneath that is the LS120 drive. So even though I managed to connect that all back up and use the LS120 drive into this motherboard, the hard drive that I got set up with it had Windows 7, and unfortunately, because the way that those drives were used in Windows 98, it used the Windows 95-98 backup program, which never got further than Windows 98. It was dropped in 2000 and XP and so on. So the only way really to read these disks, to get this data back, is to use the old Windows 98 software, Windows 98. So I dug around in the old store cupboard and found a copy of Windows 98, an original Microsoft disk. I think that's the one that came with the Time computer, if I remember rightly, for distribution with a new computer. And so what I'm going to do is install it onto this computer, and we should come up with the BIOS boot screen. And if I hit Del, we'll go into the BIOS. So you can see it's an award BIOS on this motherboard, and we're in there. And if we go into the main feature, we can see this is the setup I've got: a Western Digital 60 gig hard drive with a HL CD-ROM, the LS120, and that's the bit there, the LS120, which is the bit that you don't get in the more modern BIOSes. So you can see this BIOS date is 2002. So let's get out of there and exit without saving. Yes. And that will reboot, and then we will go through the process of installing Windows 98. So for some of you, you may never have seen a Windows 98 install. Here it comes. So obviously it's going to boot onto the CD-ROM in a moment or two, after it's gone through a little check and test. So boot from CD, here we go, we've got the choice now. So boot from CD-ROM and start Windows 98 setup from CD-ROM. And you see how old-fashioned the setup facility was in the older computers. And here we have an option: enter to continue, F1 for help, F3 for exit, F5 for remove color. So enter to setup, continue and replace your current operating system. So that's an operating system on a 60 gig hard drive. I'm not particularly bothered about the files that are on there because it's a corrupt old operating system. Remove the partition, configure the hard drive. It's all fairly simple. Right, to configure your hard drive now, press yes, YPS. It says you have a hard drive over 512 megabytes, which is obviously in 98 times that was quite big. Would you like to enable large disk support? This allows more efficient use of disk space and larger partitions to be defined. Yes, let's enable large disk support. To continue, press enter.
Right, let's speed this bit up.
So I had to stop there obviously because it's reported insufficient memory, despite the fact that I've got 3 gig RAM in this computer. I've now got to try and remember what we had to do to tell it that the memories are, I think. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm rebooting the computer, and when it gets to the start prompt I'm going to go into text only mode. That's command prompt only, so that we can see what the auto exec bat file shows, because we still get that error message there, so I wasn't quick enough to do that. So let's do that again. Reboot. So this should now offer me a boot menu because it didn't boot. So what we'll do is we'll go safe mode command prompt only, and that should just give us a standard command prompt, which it does. Excellent. So let's go there. Let's see what we're doing. So if we do, we're in the C drive. So if we do dir, that should tell us we are in the main root, and we can see there's auto exec bat. So the command to edit this file is edit c:\auto exec.bat, and here we have the editor that we've now got. So we can see in there that we've got 2 commands in the auto exec bat, neither of which is going to be doing anything major. It's just going to be setting up the keyboard and selecting the code page, which basically determines what part of the world that the computer lives in. So as we've got the editor open, we should be able to go to Alt F for file, and then do close. It's all coming back to me now. Alt F again, and then open, and we should be able to see config.sys, config.sys, and in there we've got set version, display sys, and country code, which sets up the country. So again, 3 things which are not really going to be causing a major memory issue with this computer. So I can only think that it is possibly the memory allocation on this computer is odd, because it's Windows 98, albeit a 32-bit system. It may not be able to address the full 2.5 gigabytes of RAM that I've got installed. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to change the RAM for a simple 512 megabyte RAM chip, so it's got a lot less RAM there, and see if that makes any difference. But I think it may well be just simply a case of memory addressing. Right, so I've replaced the RAM module with a 512 megabyte RAM, and I'm going to reboot, and we will probably end up with lots of beeps. Accepted it that time. Let's go delete. Oh. Hey, I was right. All down to good old RAM. So we can now put in a username, and that's me. We won't bother with the country, and we'll go next, and we'll accept the license agreement. Alt tab should take us up there. Come on. Come on. And it's asking for a product key. Right, so here we go. I'm not sure this is going to work, but here we go. Yes, it's worked. and I'm quite happy to let you see that key, because it's one that I found doing a quick search on Google. So it's a product key for Windows 98 SE, and it was one that was, like I say, readily available by a search off the internet. So if you're setting up Windows 98, you can use the same key. Why not? There we go. So it's now completing the setup, and hopefully when this is all finished, we should be able to run the backup software that we can read these disks from the old LS120 drive. So I'll let that carry on. Can you ever remember Windows setting up so quickly? If any of you my age who had early Windows computers, I wonder if you can remember it setting up as quickly as this. I seem to remember it taking an awful lot longer. But maybe the disk drives in those days weren't so fast. I don't know. Can't remember how old this disk drive is. It's a Western Digital WD600. Should have a date code on it. I think October 2002. So no, not any particular newer drive. CD-ROM drive is probably a bit newer, but not much. Maybe this is why I bought this motherboard, this QDI motherboard. Oh, another restart. Let's reboot. Nearly there. It's almost as quick as Windows 10. Reading command. Oh, look, unknown device. Windows has found hardware, communications port, core. No, it definitely won't find the monitor, because it's not got a monitor, it's got an adapter. Cool, I think we're nearly there. Look, all these bits of software. Way! We are there. We are in Windows 98. Register now, connect to the internet, discover Windows 98, maintain your computer. Wow, we are in Windows 98. Look at that. We don't particularly want to see that welcome screen ever again. Click begin. Welcome to the 98 registration. Register later, because we're not going to register this because it won't register because the servers are, I think. And let's just close it. Don't know what that window is. Oh, the channel bar. Oh yeah, I remember the channel bar. Do you remember the channel bar? Online services, connect to the internet. Dial-up modem and all that sort of stuff back in those days. And my documents. So, file manager. Yay! My computer. Let's take that 98 disk out. We don't need that in there anymore. So, showing a 3.5-inch floppy disk, but we don't have a 3.5-inch floppy disk to put in there. We have my backup disk, which I'm going to put in there. So let's see if it will read the floppy disk. No, we don't want to format it. So I've got a feeling we may have to do a little bit more work on drivers and so on this, but we do have the good old start menu. Now we have programs, and I think we have accessories, and we should have system tools, and one of which is backup somewhere.
Okay, so at this particular point in the video, I've discovered that we don't have Microsoft backup on the Windows 98 installation. So this led me to thinking, I wonder why. And so I went through, as you'll see, fast forwarded this, went through a very long-winded process of trying to find the Microsoft backup application and seeing if I could install it onto Windows 98. And as you can see, went round and round in circles, trying to put the disk in, trying to get it to find the install file. And I know it should be there somewhere, but I just couldn't remember how to find it, and it wasn't finding it automatically. Couldn't find the cabinet file that it was extracted out of. Probably if I'd have gone back and read my book about pulling files out of the cabinet file with a DOS prompt, I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. And then it blossomed in my mind that when I actually did the backups, when I was using the computer, I was actually running Windows 98 SE, or second edition. And Windows 98 second edition was an update to Windows, which introduced a few big fixes, rather like one of the old major updates we get in today. And not only did it fix things, but it brought in new features.
So, having not been successful with that, let's put in Windows 98 second edition upgrade disk, and let's see if that has the required software on it. Very odd that Windows 98 disk didn't have that, but I'm guessing. Would you like to upgrade? Well, why not? Let's upgrade. Press to use the right mouse. Continue. Take that. So, having now installed Windows 98 2nd edition upgrade, you probably noticed the first thing that popped up there was a password. They introduced a little bit of security into 98 with that password requirement. No password on this one, so you just press enter and you'll be in anyway. So now we should be able to see if it's upgraded everything. If we go to Programs, Accessories, System Tools, and we still don't have backup. Really strange, because I always thought that backup was part and parcel of Windows install from fresh. May be wrong. So anyway, we go to Settings, Control Panel, Add Remove Programs. Let's see if we can Windows 98 2nd edition uninstall information. No, don't want to do that. Setup. System Tools. Oh, next one. Details. And we tick Backup. And OK, and I bet it prompts. Oh wow, look at that. Yay, it's installing backup. Phantasmagorical, you must reboot. Okay, let's reboot. So it's quite possible now that now we've got Windows 98 2nd edition, which of course is what I would have had when I was doing this. I would have put the 2nd edition install on there, which is why it's real wobbly. So we may do a bit of editing and get rid of all that. But we are now back with Windows 98 2nd edition. Log straight in. Look at that. No password, no request or anything. So the egg timer. Good old egg timer. And close that. So let's just get rid of me for a minute and have a look and see if we've got Start, Program. Mouse is a little bit not backup. Whee! There we have backup. If not, choose mode. So restore backup files. Oh look, underneath. So welcome to backup. So let's pop my backup disk into there. Go like that and go choose where to restore files from, and it's from there you go. Look at that. Restore files from file. Oh, look at that. That backup was taken on 30th of September 98, 0638. Click the box what you want to restore, yeah. And we'll put it onto there. And click the checkbox, that's an item you want to restore. Well, there's clip art, my documents. Term type, I can't remember what the hell that was. That's good. And go next. Original location, alternate location. Let's go to File. Let's go to C. Documents. replace the file micromover, so that means if it comes across a file with the same name, it won't do it. We'll do start. Click OK. Well, look at that, it's actually processing the file. Oh, I remember all these old clip art files I used to have. Yeah. So I think the problem with some of these discs is basically I think they've probably just become unreadable. They are magnetic media. They're 20 plus years old. And consequently they could well be knackered. Simple as that. So at least I'm getting data back from one of them. Whether this process will, I don't know. Might be the heads might need cleaning in the drive, and this might do the job for me, because I know that good old floppy disks used to suffer with head contamination, but it certainly is reading it. Operation completed. We have restored some files. Restore completed, no errors. Click OK. So now we can open My Documents. And go into My Documents. And then we got screen grabs. Nothing in there. Mastercare, who I used to work for. Yes. So there we are. That's how we've managed to recover some files from a .quick file, which is Microsoft backups. The only way really that to do it successfully is to do it by having an old computer with Windows 98 2nd edition and installing the backup program and running the backup, provided the media that you're recovering from is readable, which as has been shown in this video. Some of them are not, so you might be lucky, you might not, but anyway, there we are. That's what we've done. Thanks very much for watching. Cheerio.